there is a possibility that none of them will get 50%, and then the second second preferential vote has to be counted again, which is quite new in Sri Lankan politics, because throughout it has been the first preference, but this time it might get a different twist.
Welcome to the Gist on Stat News Global. I'm Ramananda Sengupta. Today we are going to be talking about presidential elections in Sri Lanka this weekend, like September 21st. And our very, very special guest today is Mr. Indika Perera, a lawyer and conflict resolution specialist with over 2 decades of global experience. And he's also a director with the Smart Foundation, a premier think tank. Mr. Perera also works closely with top politicians and leaders across the world on issues like human rights, corruption, and project management. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
My pleasure.
So let's sort of start with the basics. I understand that there are almost 39 candidates in the fray for this presidential elections, but that's a lot of people who are running, and I'm sure some of them have pretty radical views as well. But if you could just run us through perhaps, let's say the top 3 people who are in the fray and what their positions are as opposed to the others.
Although there are 39 candidates, it is clearly visible that 3 people are leading mainly. The incumbent president, Mr. Wickremesinghe, Ranil Wickremesinghe, and the NPP leader, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, and SJP leader, Sajith Premadasa. These are the main 3 leading candidates.
Mm-hmm. And how do their positions differ on the election? Do they have any specific things that differentiates them, or do they all have the same kind of an agenda?
To be very simple, all 3 are very following populist ideologies, but incumbent president Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sajith Premadasa, they are more center right, and NPP leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake is more center left. So when you look at most of their manifestos, it is clear that Sajith is more leading on welfare and giving a lot of relief packages to the poor people, and going with quite a lot of benefits. Whereas incumbent president Ranil Wickremesinghe is going with more policy changes and more economic reform and related jobs and things. Anura Kumara Dissanayake is more focusing on anti-corruption and cutting off certain packages and benefits of the politicians, and saying that they would invest more on education and give more relief to the ordinary average common man and woman.
Mm-hmm. So, I was reading somewhere that, between these 3 candidates, that while Sajith Premadasa might get the most votes, that he might not get the 50% needed to become president and lead to a runoff. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, that's a quite possibility, because as per now, it is visible that almost these 3 main candidates are having almost, let's say, 30% of the votes, and around 10% to 15% is undecided. So there is a possibility that none of them will get 50%, and then the second second preferential vote has to be counted again, which is quite new in Sri Lankan politics, because throughout it has been the first preference, but this time it might get a different twist.
So then what happens? Then you have to have another election all over again.
No. Then what happens is, as per the constitution, if nobody gets more than 50%, then the constitution clearly says we can give preferential votes. Like first preference is for one candidate, second for somebody, third for somebody else, like that. Then the second preference is counted, and then it will be added to the most highest voted person.
Okay. That's how it works. So there's Anura Kumara Dissanayake is also sort of, I believe, seen as a rising star. But last time, I don't think he got too many votes. Why has he suddenly become such a big star? And he's a slightly different, ideology from the rest, isn't it?
Yes, last time he got like less than 5%. Numbers wise, around 500,000. So for somebody to win, you need to receive around 7 million or 70 lakhs of votes. So quite a high number. But I think it's not that he is popular. The others are quite, unpopular, or the protest vote, and people have so much grievances about the others, which has not by but by omission for voting for Anura Kumara.
I see. So there's about 1.7 crore voters, I believe, in Sri Lanka for this particular election. I suppose maybe 1.5 will actually vote, around those numbers, and more than half of those are women. So what are the main issues involved? What are the main? Last time I think it was security because of the Easter bombing, but this time what are the issues? Is it the economics, or is it something else?
Yeah, mostly I think this time security is not that much of a major concern, but the prices of the essential goods, the taxes, and again the job security, and again when it comes to all the imported things, the essential medicine, and all these things are the main concerns, mainly for ladies. But we see some of the candidates have proposed certain policy changes on women-related certain policies, also on their day-to-day activities and job security for women also.
So, I mean, women are not being sort of, targeted specifically by these candidates. They're all looking at basically, a better condition of living for everybody.
Yeah, we have never specially targeted them as a specific group throughout. Even in the parliament, out of 225 members, less than 15 are men. It is little low compared to the regional other countries in South Asia. So we have more focusing in general, not specific women focus throughout.
I mean, that's a far cry from the days of Bandana Ike and all those people who were, more women focused.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I read some, So I read somewhere that I think I'll have the quote. I took it out the other day. It said that the 2019 election was fought on security issues, and there were only two main contenders. But this time you have, I suppose all 39 are not mean, but you have 3 or 4 contenders. And this election is being fought on the merits of each candidate, as you mentioned earlier, that, because the other two are not so popular, the third person might just get more votes. But with the economic crisis growing large, is this sort of a establishment versus anti-establishment kind of a vote?
Yeah, it is. Most of the votes which might be received for Anura Kumara will be more anti-system, anti-establishment, the frustrated, angry, and saddened voters. It is the main line. So it's packaged as anti-corruption or packaged as cutting the benefits of the richer. And the logic behind this is that if you cut down from certain policies, and that money could be saved. But statistically, it is not so. But people tend to believe that. People tend to believe that anti-corruption could lead to short-term progress.
So Ranil, I think, is trying to go on the thing that, look, I managed the economy well, but when the IMF comes in such conditions, those conditions are very tough usually. So how has that sort of gone down to the masses, as it were?
Yeah, the masses are quite ignorant, I suppose, on the IMF related matters. It is quite visible that if we are Sri Lanka is stable, but at a very unstable point. So if you play with the IMF conditions, or if you try to renegotiate with the IMF, this might take more time. And in the period, do we have enough our own deposits to run the country? So that danger is there. I think some of the candidates are not properly looking into that and going with the popular slogans, anti-IMF, IMF is for capitalist people, it will make the rich richer and poor further poorer. So that logic, I think it might be counterproductive also.
Okay. So, among the manifestos, I was trying to quickly glance through the thing, but it's, pretty difficult to lay your hands on them, and most of it are very sort of, locally oriented kind of manifestos. But I read somewhere that both Anura and Sajith have pledged to abolish the executive presidency. What does that really mean?
Well, that's kind of like a popular slogan. Everybody from 1990s, all the time in the pre-election campaigns, they are saying focusing the executive presidency is the enemy. Executive presidency is the problem for a lot of good governance related issues, and focusing on that. And it has become a popular slogan. But what has happened is all the candidates from 94 up to now, after becoming the president, nobody has worked seriously on abolishing it. I hope the present ones will stick to their words, but I doubt it.
What would that entail, and what would they replace this kind of a system with?
I think a similar thing. Maybe different people have different proposals. Some are saying they would abolish certain powers of the president, and those powers will be given to the parliament, where more accountability and more accuracy will be there. Or they would go with the executive type prime minister, but with more checks and balances.
Okay. So is one of the things that has been playing there, and I guess from India also, there's a lot of interest in that. That is external support for these candidates a factor in the whole thing. There are people who are said to be pro-China, there are people who are said to be pro-India, and obviously they're all lobbying for their particular people who are pro their thing. Is that a issue with the masses as such? I mean, how is India seen? How is China seen? And how is that working out?
Well, to be at the election front, it has not been a major cause for selecting a candidate. I mean, there are stories and rumors that certain candidates are supported by certain countries. That rumors are there, but it has not been a political slogan as such. But like in 80s, 87, with the Indo-Lanka Peace Accord, we saw quite a lot of animosity towards India. But after that, we have not seen even in this election or even before that. But definitely, we see geopolitics making quite a high role in some of the candidates. But it has not become a public issue in selecting
Okay.
a candidate.
I see. So since there is a perception that certain candidates are sort of supporters of certain sort of general thing, has that perception seen any shift since the economic crisis?
Well, it's kind of a mix. The incumbent president and throughout all the presidents in Sri Lanka have tried to, although they are close to certain countries in time to time, they have managed to be non-aligned at least for the public visibility purposes. But after the economic crisis, there has been some allegations that Sri Lanka was quite. I mean, it is factually true. Also, India supported Sri Lanka to get out from the economic crisis with relief and quite a lot of support. So that is not seen negatively so far. It has been seen as a positive thing.
Oh, okay. Because I still think there is a lot of money that Sri Lanka still owes China in some ways. So obviously, that has to be sort of placed. It must be very difficult for Sri Lanka to sort of juggle the two. We have two big powers trying to sort of wield influence in the country. It can't be very easy.
It is. It is. The thing is, you see the slogan, no, friends, when you try to make friends with everybody, you will end up with no friends at all, no? So that might
That's
happen.
true.
I think my personal view is Sri Lanka should decide on somebody and go with that. If you try to please everyone, you will end up nowhere.
Sir, what about the Gotabayas? Are they a factor still? I mean, after what happened, are they still a factor in the whole thing? Because you do have, you have Namal also contesting. I mean, you didn't mention Namal's name, but I don't think he's a big thing right now.
So far, no. He's quite young compared to the other politicians, and his political party is also new. So most of his big supporters, the former ministers and all, they are with the incumbent president, and some have joined Sajith Premadasa also. So he will get some votes. Maybe fourth position will be received by him. So it will be a good training exercise for him also. And hopefully he will learn from his mistakes and then gradually move up the ladder, because he's young and he has quite a lot of time to get ready.
Uh-huh. And so, what about let's say the minorities, like let's say the Tamils and the Muslims and all these people? How powerful is their voice here?
Quite a lot, because this time, since the southern provinces, excluding north and east, are divided almost equally among the three main candidates. The votes in the north and east, especially the Tamil vote, is quite significant. So, what I have seen in my recent travels to north and east is that although for the south, this election is quite intense and so important, some of the Tamil communities are not finding that much interested in the voting or seeing this as a major decisive event. For the South, it is quite a lot of interest and quite a lot of enthusiasm. In the North, especially, I see quite a lot of lack of interest and no enthusiasm as South compared to South.
So you mean more people there in the South are likely to vote and the North is likely to stay? But that means they're going to lose that influence, isn't it? I mean, if they don't vote.
Yeah, in a way, because there is this common candidate put forward by some of the political parties in the North, as well as there is another group campaigning that to boycott the elections, saying that this is more Sinhalese, Buddhist Southern vote, and we have nothing to do with that. So that element is also there. So in a way, they are going to lose the influence, but on the same time, they could use this to make a point.
There are, apart from the candidates that we've been discussing so far, there have been a few other sort of, I would say, candidates who are named in that sense. There is Ariane Teram of the Tamil MP from the north. Then you have Nuvan Bogape. Then you have, he was that lawyer who led that Arakalaya movement. And then you have Sarath Fonseca. How, even if they don't get, a lot of votes, but whose votes will they eat into?
Well, I think the candidate Nuwan Popage, they are more hardcore leftists. So they are looking into total reform of the capitalist society. So they might tap into some of the hardcore reformist votes. They will take some away from Anura Kumara. But if you look at former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca, so some of his votes will be from the UNP. But I don't think him or the Tamil candidate would get much vote. But there is another candidate, Dilip Jayavira. This coalition, more nationalistic, Sinhalese, Buddhist ideological line, they might get quite momentum.
Okay, and whose votes will they eat into? I mean, who will suffer because of the votes they get?
Yeah, I think nobody will suffer as much because none of these people, I don't think they will get more than 100,000 votes. So they might tap into Sajith or Ranil mostly. So that might make a little difference, but not a major difference.
So we are talking about, Anura Dissanayake, and he's basically a leftist, sort of, a leftist from the JVP in that sense. Is that going to radically change the way government functions if he comes into power? Is that going to be a big difference?
I would say, is a retired leftist. This new coalition, NPP, National People's Power, it's more of a petty bourgeois party now. So they have shed the leftist part and they are more into reforms and more into the continuation of capitalist institutions as well as practices. I don't see any major changes even if they come in, but they would look into things like reforming the structures and reducing the corruption and the structural corruption and looking into certain practices in the government. That kind of reforms they are proposing. I think which is helpful, and as a country, we need some of those also.
So you were personally dealt a lot with, anti-corruption and all those kind of issues, and you advised a lot of politicians on that. But, in India, corruption is again prevalent right from the top to the bottom, but it has changed somewhat because of all these digital things that have come into play, even though even that is being bypassed by various people, because when somebody wants to do mischief, they can do it regardless of the laws. Is corruption that big an issue in Sri Lanka?
Well, corruption is an issue everywhere. More than it is an actual issue, it has been perceived as one of the major reasons for the recent economic crisis. Actually, it is just another one reason, but the perception is high. The perception of the ordinary people on the ground is that the the whole economic crisis happened because of corruption. So, in the light of that, any government who comes in has to seriously look into that. Definitely, digitalizing and having less human contacts would make things much better, and the anti-corruption is actually given more freedom to operate. So these things would really help.
But, once somebody comes into power, I suppose they get into that system. I mean, whether you like it or not, there will be forces at play that, make you do certain things, which may not be seen as corruption per se, but for the common person, it is seen as that. Is that the right perception in that sense?
Definitely. What happens is, probably this is a South Asian phenomenon. We had, the kingships, the feudal structures throughout.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
on top of this feudal structures, suddenly the colonial masters superimposed the democratic structures. Although we have the democratic structures playing, the ordinary people are expecting the leaders to behave as kings or regional lords. So they are expecting this kind of favors from these politicians. So in a way, the people are electing their kings and queens, not the proper democratically accountable leaders. So this clientelism, the way the people look at their leaders as well as the leaders look at their people are more transactional. So because of this transactional thing, either because you are a friend or you are being invested on you, or the caste related issues, or on the other side that you are a party member, so you need to be treated additionally better than ordinary people because you voted. So that clientelism made the corruption cycle continue, and it's structural corruption. People don't see it as corruption. People see it as normal thing. I voted for you, so you have to look after me now. So kind of a thing.
Yes.
So that structural element to be broken to break the chain of connection of the corruption cycle.
So, when you advise the government or the politicians on this, what do you recommend to them? How would you recommend that they break this cycle?
One of the main thing is the digitalization, and all the tenders and all the government procurement be online, so that everyone who is interested could check into that, and all the politicians elected as well as all the senior government officials have their asset declarations made online with certain security and personal information for personality, data protection subject to that, so that the people will know that this person's and have social audits. This person's salary is this amount, and how could this person have such a luxurious life or have such types of vehicles, assets, or foreign travel or whatever. So making things digital might help and make the people aware that people has the right to request this information and check. And on the same time, the anti-corruption
The
institutions
watchdogs have to be
who
set
are
up.
into yeah, needs to
Mhm.
be given independence as well as freedom to operate.
So basically, what you're saying is transparency is very important, and the second part is that somebody to enforce that transparency is also, I mean, to sort of check that things are being correct is needed.
Definitely, 100%.
Uh-huh. So I will watch the elections very, very closely, and perhaps we'll have you back again once the elections are over, just to see what comes next for Sri Lanka. I'm afraid we've run out of time, sir. So thank you so very much for joining us. I know that you told me that you didn't have lunch yet, but maybe you said hopefully you were feeling hungry now to join. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. I look forward to having you with us again.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
That was Mr. Indika Perera, a lawyer and conflict resolution specialist in Sri Lanka, talking to us about the upcoming presidential elections in Sri Lanka and what we can expect. I do hope you enjoyed this particular edition of The Gist. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till we meet again, this is Ramananda Sengupta signing out.